There's a secret, buried deep beneath the ice and rock of one of the world's highest mountains. It's a Cold War secret, a ticking time bomb, really, that was left behind almost 60 years ago. And its shadow, well, it just keeps getting longer.
So, here's the big question we're diving into. Is a lost CIA spy device poisoning Asia's water supply? And I want to be clear, this isn't just some dusty old story. It's a potential catastrophe, a ghost from the past that frankly refuses to stay buried.
And the stakes, they are astronomically high. We're talking about 400 million people. Let that number sink in. 400 million people who depend on the Ganges River system for their lives, for everything. This isn't some far-off problem. It is a direct threat to one of the most populated places on Earth. So how on earth did we get here? Well, to understand that, we have to go back.
To really get what's at stake today, we've got to rewind the clock to the absolute height of the Cold War. This is where a desperate, high-stakes gamble was born. Not in some secret war room, but, believe it or not, over drinks at a cocktail party.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1964. China tests its very first nuclear weapon. And just like that, the entire geopolitical map gets redrawn. Suddenly, the US and India are looking at a brand new, totally unpredictable nuclear power, and they are scrambling. They needed to know what China was up to, and they needed to know fast.
So what did they come up with? A plan, that is, and I'm not kidding here, straight out of a spy movie. The idea, which literally came from a conversation between an American general and a world-famous mountaineer, was to stick a super sophisticated listening post on top of a Himalayan mountain, high enough to eavesdrop on Chinese missile tests happening deep inside the country.
But this was no ordinary climbing expedition. Oh no. The target was Nanda Devi, India's second highest peak. The mission was a joint operation between the CIA and Indian intelligence, and it involved some of the best climbers in the world carrying, well, one of the most dangerous things imaginable.
So, what exactly were they hauling up this mountain? It was a SNAP 19C nuclear generator. You can basically think of it as a nuclear battery. It was designed to power all the spy gear for decades without ever needing maintenance. I mean, it's the perfect solution for a spot you can't get to easily, but it came with a terrible risk.
Inside this thing were 7 capsules of plutonium. And yeah, we're talking about the same kind of isotope that was used in the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki. This fuel source was built to last, designed to pump out heat and electricity for more than 100 years, which makes it an incredibly persistent and deadly material.
Obviously, you can't just waltz up the Himalayas with a nuclear device. So, to hide what they were really doing, the agencies cooked up this super elaborate cover story. The team posed as a scientific expedition, supposedly studying high-altitude sickness. They had the whole shebang: fake National Geographic IDs, letterhead, business cards, the works.
And this is where the story gets really chilling. Because of all this secrecy, the generator naturally gave off heat. And for the local Sherpas and porters who had absolutely no idea what it really was, this warm 50-pound box was like a gift from the heavens in the sub-zero cold. They nicknamed it Guru Rinpoche, a revered saint, and they would huddle next to it, even sleep right beside it, just to stay warm, unknowingly exposing themselves to deadly radiation.
But even the best-laid plans of spies and mountaineers are no match for the raw, untamable power of the Himalayas. And things were about to go very wrong.
This timeline really just lays it all out. It shows you how fast this whole thing fell apart. I mean, within just a month of starting their climb, the mission was in serious trouble. And by the next spring, that prized piece of spy tech was just gone. The whole secret held for another 12 years before the story finally broke.
So they're up there, almost to 24,000 feet, when a blizzard from hell just smashes into them. One climber later said they were 99% dead. Visibility was 0. The winds were just trying to rip them off the mountain. The expedition leader, Captain M.S. Coley, was trapped and had to make an impossible choice. He gave the order: secure the device as best you can, but save the men. Get them down. Lives over the machine. So they anchored the device to a rock face, planning to come back for it later. But when they returned the following May, the entire mountain face had changed. A massive avalanche had scoured the site clean, taking the rock, the anchors, and the nuclear generator with it. It had completely vanished.
So, the mission was a total failure. But the story, it was far from over. In fact, that Cold War screw-up has morphed into a clear and present danger for all of us here in the 21st century.
Here's why this matters so much. That lost device is somewhere in the glaciers that are the primary source, the very fountainhead of the Ganges River. This is one of the most important water systems on the planet. It's the literal lifeblood for over 400 million people and major cities like Delhi and Kolkata. The poison is sitting right at the source.
And the threat it poses today is really twofold, and it's getting more urgent every single year. First, there's the environmental nightmare. Climate change is melting these glaciers faster than ever. As the ice melts, that device is moving, and the risk of its casing cracking goes way up. If those plutonium capsules break open, they could poison the water, leading to cancers for millions of people. On top of that, the constant heat from the device itself is probably accelerating the melt from the inside out, like a ticking time bomb inside a melting ice cube. And second, there's the security threat. What happens if that melting ice finally reveals the device and it falls into the wrong hands? The plutonium inside could absolutely be weaponized to create a devastating dirty bomb.
So when this story finally came out in 1978, people in India were understandably outraged. But declassified documents now show us what was happening behind the scenes. Publicly, officials downplayed it, calling it a minor, well-handled Himalayan incident. But privately, U.S. President Jimmy Carter was secretly praising the Indian Prime Minister for successfully suppressing the story to avoid political blowback. They chose secrecy over public safety.
And just listen to this. These are the words of Jim McCarthy, one of the American climbers on the mission. He later developed cancer, which he believes was from the radiation exposure. His anger is just palpable. He said, "They lied to us. It was totally unsafe. You can't just leave plutonium at the headwaters of the Ganges." He felt betrayed, knowing the insanity of leaving something so deadly at the source of a sacred, life-giving river.
And maybe no one summed it up better than the man who made that fateful decision high up on the mountain. Before his death, Captain Coley called the CAA's plan foolish. His final assessment is a haunting legacy for all of us. He said, "We left a monster in the Himalayas that will continue to terrify future generations."
And that monster? It's still there. Right now. Somewhere under the ice, slowly making its way down the mountain as the glacier flows. And it leaves us with a deeply unsettling question. After decades of secrecy and denial, who is responsible for finding this atomic ghost before it's too late?